Hi guys, today our group will be presenting Community Opioid Management and Intermediate Treatment, also known as COMMIT Education. This slideshow is by me, On, Janice, Ryan, and Nada.
By the end of our lesson, our goal is for at least 80% of participants to gain awareness about the opioid epidemic in the US and its impact on public health, to describe and identify the effects of opioid abuse on the body, to recognize physical and behavioral signs and symptoms of an opioid overdose and understand the necessary safety protocols needed in response to one, effectively administer naloxone on mannequins, and in this lesson, we'll be demonstrating nasal administration specifically. And finally, to understand and demonstrate post-administration care.
What is opioid use disorder, also called OUD? OUD is a chronic medical condition characterized by compulsive opioid use, despite knowing its harm or attempts to stop. The health effects that comes from OUD in the short run are constipation, dizziness or confusion, and respiratory depression. Respiratory depression is when a person's breathing becomes dangerously slow or shallow. Long-term use of OUD can lead to multiple organ damage, especially the liver and kidneys. Increased risk of cardiovascular disease and permanently alter your brain chemistry. Some symptoms of an overdose can be difficulty staying awake, purple or blue lips and nails, pinpoint pupils, clammy skin, and weak breathing and unresponsiveness. It is crucial that we learn the symptoms of overdose. The quicker we identify an overdose and step in, the more likely we're able to save their life. More details on an opioid response in the presentation is later on. Opioid epidemic statistics. Why is opioid awareness crucial? Well, this is because opioid use disorder is now classified as an epidemic in the United States and was declared as a national public health emergency in 2017. Opioid epidemic statistics. In 2023 alone, 79,358 people have died from opioid overdose, and this number is just counting reported cases, not counting any unreported cases. 34.5% of that number comes from individuals whose highest education was a high school diploma. 24% of that death came from individuals living below the poverty line. While the opioid epidemic do not spare anyone regardless of race, religion, sex, or ethnicity, the majority of the burden falls on people who come from lower socioeconomic status. This includes those who are low income and ethnic minorities, like Native Americans, African Americans, and Hispanics. The Black community, especially those living in the large cities, face the largest increase in opioid-related deaths. And it is crucial that we take time to address the problem and raise awareness in the community.
So, what are some signs of an opioid overdose? The first one is little to no breathing. So, very slow breathing, anything below 8 breaths per minute is considered slow breathing. And they would show long pauses or gasping, shallow breathing, so you'd barely see their chest falling and rising. And then, of course, they would stop breathing completely, is obviously another sign of an opioid overdose. Next up is unresponsiveness. So they won't be able to hear your name, they won't be able to hear loud noises, and they won't be able to stay awake. So they would keep nodding off or drowsing off, right? And then lastly, they won't be able to respond to the sternum rub, which is basically when you rub your knuckles against their chest, they won't be able to respond to that, right? And then we have pupils and eyes. So pinpoint pupils or pinhead pupils, where their pupils are very tiny. And then glassy eyes, so very watery eyes, their pupils will not be able to react to light. And then their eyelids will be very droopy and rolled back, right? So their eyes will start rolling back. And then they would have a lack of or slack of facial muscles. So their mouth would start hanging open and whatnot, right? And then another sign is a very faint or absent pulse, slow, so brachycardia, a very low blood pressure, right? So anything below a 90 over a 60 would be considered low blood pressure. The person would be feeling very faint and then they would begin to collapse, right? And then there would be a lack of gag reflex. This is a problem because if someone does not have a gag reflex, then they would show signs of choking and aspiration, and they would have the risk of that. And then lastly, if someone is having an opioid overdose, they would show signs of a seizure. So, what do you do once you see these signs? First up, you of course call 911, especially if the person is unresponsive and showing clear signs of what we just went over. And then next, we would administer naloxone. Naloxone can be administered in two ways. First, through intranasal, so a nasal spray, as shown in this image right here, and then intramuscular, so through a needle, which is also shown in the picture. And then lastly, you're just going to stay with the person until help arrives. Make sure that the person is in a proper recovery position. So this means that you'd put them on their side, you'd make sure that their knees are up, and that they have a clear breathing, like a clear pathway for breathing. And then you're just going to wait until help arrives, and hopefully you can save them.
Hi everyone, my name is Netta, and I'm going to be talking about the naloxone administration steps, which consist of a few steps that need to be done very carefully, and they're also done intranasally. So first, you need to take the naloxone out of the package. You're going to hold this spray with your thumb on the bottom and middle, and first fingers on the side, just like this image right here. You're going to tilt the person's head back with the other hand to support the neck. Next, you're going to insert the nozzle into one nostril until your fingers on either side come into contact with the bottom of the person's nose. Next, you're going to firmly press the plunger and monitor them for 2 minutes. If the person remains unresponsive after 2 minutes, you're going to have to repeat the steps to administer a second dosage. You're going to roll the person on their side into recovery position while you wait for help to arrive. If you were to do naloxone by injection, you would first take off the orange cap of the bottle and insert the needle through the rubber stopper. You would draw all the fluid from the bottle into the needle by pulling back the plunger. Lastly, you would insert the needle into the muscle of the shoulder or front of the thigh. And this can be done through clothing because the needle is pretty sharp. Clothing can be thin. Thank you guys.
Now, let's watch this video called the Nugget video. It helps us understand addiction. Addiction is a cycle of chasing euphoria, and most people continue this harmful behavior in attempts to avoid withdrawal symptoms. The Nugget video symbolically represents the cycle of opioid addiction. Some questions to think about while watching the videos are listed below. What does the nugget represent? Why does the chick glow yellow? Why did the cycle of euphoria grow shorter and shorter? And how did the appearance of the chick change over time? Now let's watch the video. Please take 3 minutes to discuss with your peers about the questions and the video. Now that you guys have 3 minutes to discuss with your peers about the question, let's go over the questions together. First question is, what does the nugget represent? As you can tell, the nugget represents opioids. Second question is, why does the chick glow yellow? The chick glowing yellow and flying represents the euphoric states that people experience after taking opioids. Third question is, why did the cycle of euphoria grow shorter and shorter? The euphoric state lasts shorter and shorter every time because people develop a tolerance to the drug after continuous usage, as you can see in the video. In order to have the same effect, they'll need to use more and more of the drug, and the drugs have to be taken at a shorter and shorter interval, as we've seen in the video. Lastly, how did the appearance of the chick change? The chick appears haggard and tired as the video goes on. This represents how opioid addiction can lead to negligence in one's health, as they focus more on chasing the euphoric state, or they will experience withdrawal symptoms. As you can see with the bird, it grew gray and more gray over time as it became more focused, and the world around it became darker as it only focused on the nugget. Opioid addiction help and supportive groups. If you or anyone you know are struggling with opioid addiction, please know that you are not alone. It is never too late to seek help. There are many therapies, support groups, and resources available to help those struggling with opioid addiction. Anonymous support groups are also available if you or your loved one want to keep your identity confidential. If you know anyone who may benefit from these resources or program, please feel free to grab our business card in the front. Here are some supportive groups. The first one is Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. This is a government-funded website and support group, and you can also call the Anonymous Crisis Hotline at 988. Text and call are also kept anonymous and confidential. The second one, if you're more into being in person, is the Center for Substance Abuse and Treatment. The location is in Rockville, Maryland, so it's quite a distance from here. But you can also reach them via phone number and email. The Dual Recovery Anonymous is a organization that helps get people get better. Their website and email are listed below. Smart Recovery is also another website and organization that has in-person meeting groups that you can attend in order to get support and recovery tips. Their phone number is also provided below. Now on to trivia questions. Opioid addiction is an epidemic in the United States. True or false? The second question is, in recent years, which demographic group has faced the highest risks of developing an opioid use disorder? A. High income white men living in urban areas. B. Low income white men living in urban areas. C. Middle income black men living in urban areas. Or D. Low income black men living in urban areas. Please take 2 minutes to discuss with your peers on what the answer may be. Now that you have taken 2 minutes to discuss the answer with your peers, let's go over the question. The first question is opioid addiction is an endemic in the United States. That is true. Like we mentioned earlier, the opioid epidemic was declared a national emergency in 2017. The second question is, in recent years, which demographic group has faced the highest risk of developing an opioid use disorder? The answer is D, low-income Black men living in urban areas. Third question is, you found someone lying on the ground, unresponsive, with blue lips and nails. They appear to be experiencing an opioid overdose. What is your next step? A, walk away. B, lay them in recovery position. C, call 911. D, sit next to them and wait until help arrives. The fourth question is, what are some symptoms associated with opioid overdose? A, alertness, strong heartbeat, and fast breathing. B, blue and purple nails and lips, strong heartbeat, and fast breathing. C, blue purple nails and lips, slowed heartbeat, and fast breathing. D, blue purple nails and lips, slow heartbeat, and slow breathing. Please take a minute to discuss with your peers on what the answer may be. Now that you have taken a minute to discuss the answer with your peers, let's go over them together. The third question is, you found someone lying on the ground, unresponsive, with blue lips and nails. They appear to be experiencing an opioid overdose. What is your next step? The answer for that is C, call 911. 4. What are some symptoms associated with opioid overdose? The answer is D, blue purple nails and lips, slow heartbeat, and slow breathing. This is called respiratory depression. The fifth question is, naloxone is used to reverse which of the following condition? A, alcohol poisoning. B, opioid overdose. C, hypoglycemia. D, stroke. Question 6. When administering the intranasal naloxone spray, also called Narcan, what is the correct action? A, spray once in each nostril. B, spray the entire dose into one nostril. C, shake the device before spraying. D, insert the nozzle deeply into the nostril. Please take a minute to discuss the answer with your peers. Let's go over the answer together. 5. Naloxone is used to reverse which of the following conditions? The answer is B, opioid overdose. When administering the intranasal naloxone spray, also called Narcan, what is the correct action? The answer is B, spray the entire dose into one nostril. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation on the Community Opioid Management and Immediate Treatment Commit Education. These are the references we use for our slides. Once again, thank you so much.